Well, 4 minutes past 9, and of course, still driving your business in here with the latest information that is both local and international. But of course, the bigger picture in here is that how best to use this information when it comes to implementing business decisions and also career choices at the same time, because of course, career and business always move hand in hand. But of course, all these conversations are powered by Zabu, which just made your trading experience much more easy and friendly. *292# is the magic code. Of course, you'll be available with quite lots of options. You can buy government bonds and securities with as little as 15,000. But of course, you can even invest 100,000, 1 million. But the minimum requirement is 15,000. Now, the markets open at 8:15. As I speak right now, they already opened about 30 minutes ago. 8:15 a.m. till 3:15 p.m. That is East African time. Mondays and except on the weekends and the public holidays when the markets are not in operation. So on such days, you won't be able to access the markets. But you still have the huge 5 days in a week to capitalize on these markets and make as much as profits as you can. Zabu just made this a possibility. No more excuses why you shouldn't own government bonds and securities. Zabu, my money, my future. All tax East Africa. Do something new. And of course, quite lots of aspects, so many events happening in Uganda, of course, relating to some sort of economic related challenges. And of course, you know, as you know, what is really happening not only in Uganda, but also the entire world at the same time. And of course, here we join with Ronana Habwe on set, of course, as we're going to be breaking down events which are happening within the country. I know you always ask yourself as a viewer right there, what is the fate of the street kids that we see all day, all night around the streets of Kampala, begging for 100 shillings? And of course, the question that comes into your mind is that, what if this kid grows up in such a lifestyle? What is he going to be thinking? Probably he's going to be thinking that you're supposed to beg and you're supposed to be given. So where is the element of hard working here? And of course, there is something which has been going on around social media about a certain man that was known to be begging. But of course, at the end of the day, he had a gun and some sort of a spying device. Of course, that's according to what the reports, of course, reveal regarding that matter. But what's your opinion before we get into this discussion regarding what is happening? I know I've seen some people that almost want to slap these kids, who are very mad at them in all aspects of life. But of course, I won't take a side or take an opinion that is regarding to what the person feels towards those kids at that very moment. But the question is, are these kids, are they being spoiled, of course, for their future? And isn't that one of the ways of damning their future if people keep on giving them this money? Rona, you're welcome on set. Very good morning.
Good morning to you, Andrew. Thank you for having me.
Yes, Joram, we have this matter in here about the street kids. And Rona, how before you came in here, we are just having a mini discussion regarding this matter about a feature story that you are developing, and the viewers can't wait to watch this. Trust me, I mean, it evokes people's emotions when people hear this.
True.
Personally, I can't wait.
True.
Take us through this.
I think it's even really such a good time for me to even talk about it now that it is done. But I think about a month I started on this future story of homeless people because it was actually a personal interest. I had seen the surge had increased abnormally. Exactly. Every day, even coming closer to these streets, they said every street would pass by, there would either be a hawker, a pauper, or someone who is carrying a kid and they are looking for 500 shillings, 100 shillings, like you mentioned. Yes. And it evoked my mind. Of course, we have seen several investigation stories before where people say that these are part of
spy.
Not even spies, but these people that whatever are brought from up there in the north, just come and it's a business. Human trafficking, that's the word. Human trafficking, it's a business by a certain cartel that brings these young people to the streets. Yes, and they actually in the past, the country even passed a law in regards to prohibiting anyone that would give money in regards to that. So that story was just evoked by human interest and me wanting to know, like, I was really anxious and curious to know why are there so many this time around. So when I went to the streets in Kampala around City Square there's like a park where people sit. I interviewed some of these people that sleep there, actually.
Sure, okay.
And I realized that some of these people are refugees. This man is from is from Eritrea. Eritrea, is it?
Eritrea.
And his story is so touching. He was brought by his relatives, and then he was abandoned here.
Okay.
And then for the parts of the people that are within the country, these are people that 11 years with a kid, like they've already given birth. And so you can see, apart from the outlook, economic outlook for anyone who would want to come to Uganda, like if there is an increase or a surge of homelessness on the streets, apart from the economic outlook for anyone who would want to invest, look at the number of the people that are on the streets. These are people unemployed.
Exactly.
You know what comes with unemployment? Crime. High crime rate in the city. It's like their characters are, for lack of a better word, they are badly mannered, and you cannot even put them. The society norms cannot even help them. Now, when they passed that bill, of course, and then they prohibited anyone that would give them money.
Money, yes.
But people still give them money, and they are even. You realize when you don't put your window pane down and then they are passing, they can even slap you. They are that violent. Those people, those young children. So from that report, from that story that I'm working on today, I learned a lot of things. Okay. Of course, I reached out to KCCA, and then they told me that they have been seeking for funds to increase the shelters in which they get move these street children from the street and put them back. Okay. And then for the beggar's case, you are talking about a beggar who was found with a gun.
With a gun, yes.
Under a pretext of a beggar, a pauper is on the street. What does that mean?
Some sort of a device, some people call spy.
This is KCCA's work. I reached out to Ministry of Gender and Labour. Of course, I didn't get any response. But KCCA told me that we should even stop taking pity on these people. It's a business. People wake up just like any other streets. Even in London, there are beggars on the streets. In London, actually, someone was giving me an example of a mosque where there are beggars, but they have now refused. They no longer want to be given little. It's like it's like a right. If you give them little, they rioted on the street and demonstrated. Yes. Someone was giving me an example of that case. So it's normal for any street or any city
to have beggars.
But what we should not underlook is the crime related to it, because it's not it doesn't look. Not even looking good. It's not good for society. The more the theft increases, murder, and this is how they grow, and you know how fast they grow. So I just like to implore KCCA to do more than that. I saw a report that they want to remove around 15,000 street children from the streets, but I hope the government can also give them the shelter they need, because they talked of them not having enough space to accommodate them, that even when they bring them out from the street and they take them to that shelter, those shelters, or they send them back to the north or where they come from, they still come back in a period of 2 weeks. So I employ anyone to just look more into it. It's more than what it looks like, I can tell you that.
It seems to be quite very strange. You know, there is another side we don't know about this.
True.
Joram, what's your take on this matter? I know you've encountered street kids who ask you for money, and I don't know what your emotions are on your first glimpse when you see them. Of course, when they are really onto their asking for that money.
Well, first of all, you get to as well try to, I don't know, to say, is it a compliment to KCCA or the authorities in the country for, at least you can easily see that there's been a little bit of a change in the fact that there are no longer as many as there used to be. Back in the time, if I'm to remember, if I'm to at least trace back to the early 2000s, the early 20th century, the decade from 2000 to around 2010, back in the time when we were still in school,
yes,
you could easily see most of them around the Bench Wanuka Street. There were quite many there. Around Ginger Road, there were many. Well, of course, they've been pushing. The question is about where they come from. Reports say
yes, that's
normally the people who are actually responsible for bringing them from, let's say, most of them come from the northeastern side of the country, because some of us have normally called them the Karamajongs.
Karamajongs, actually, yeah.
But surprisingly, it's not only Karamajongs, though.
Yes.
There are quite a number of tribes, but most especially coming from one region, northeastern or the northern side of the country. And then you still wonder. The question, however, that I've always had in my mind is, even when we have these streets, let's say street kids, we no longer have only street kids now, we even have mothers.
Very true.
Either a pregnant mother or one with a baby who has just been born within just a period of 2 months or 1 month. Now the question is, who is the father responsible for this? How do we get these homeless kids on the streets? And then even after taking them off the streets, because sometimes when we take these street kids off, or the ladies, because there are not so many of the men who are on the streets. When you find a man who's on the streets, then that one is ideally a mad person. You definitely call him a mad person. Because when you see these kids, or what you could call the street children, when they are taken off the streets, the question is, where are they taken? Sometimes you realize they are just taken back to their home areas. That means they are again deserted. So when you leave them there, that means they will still use the same avenues to get back to the city, because now they've already established sources. You see, every time one thing about young children is that their level of adaptability is quite easier. They can adapt to any kind of atmosphere once given the time. And once they are comfortable with that atmosphere and they get used to it, and they are more composed of living in that atmosphere, they will still find a way to get themselves back into it. So taking them back to their home areas doesn't save a lot, because once they get a chance of getting back, because like I say, they have sources, they've established sources here. We've heard of those reports where people call it a business, that either whether it's someone who brings these,
they collect money on his behalf.
These are old meats that we've been having, because we've seen some documentaries about how the things are done elsewhere, not in the country here, whereby someone uses it more like a business of his own, goes to the village, picks around 10 to 20 young under or less privileged kids from poor backgrounds, brings them to the city, they start collecting or begging money. And after begging money, in the evening, they're taking that money back. We have quite a number of them around the Nile Avenue lane here, plot 42. There are those who actually stretch out to Fairway, the John Babiha Avenue. We've got those around Ginger Road, that is across the access road.
Entebbe Road.
Now Entebbe Road around. Now the only good thing about that place is that now they are constructing the Entebbe Express Tunnel, rather the Kampala flyover. That has limited the street children from operating within there, because of the fact that it's really busy. So there is no one who's going to stop to give you any money, really. And so most of them, even when you stretch to Ntinda, as you actually head into Bukoto, the Bukoto traffic lights after the old Kira Road police station around there, as you're actually heading, there are also quite a number of those as you're heading to Kabira. But the question again goes to, if we are to take them away from this place, I've seen churches having initiatives, or setting up charity foundations where when they pick these less privileged children or the orphans, they take them somewhere, take them through school, give them a purposeful, meaning life. But then what most of the KCC officials do is they either arrest or they park these kids onto the bus, take them back. Now after parking these people back to the villages, and they cannot maintain that lifestyle there, because they were used to a more softer life of being given here in Kampala. They will still get a way of getting back here. So we need to at least understand that if we want to clear them off the streets, it is realistic that we can get them off the streets. We can minimize. We may have, because now the numbers are deteriorating day in, day out. We can still minimize, because now in the city, most of them are now going to the outskirts, which clearly shows you now in the city they are, they are not welcome
used to them. People are used to them now,
and people are no longer giving them the money they used to get
before they knew something.
Because at times there are also claims that they were actually thieves. You failed to give them something, a kid comes
kid
and steals something off you, or robs your phone, or robs money that they've actually seen through your car window. And then some of them have actually changed tactics. I think we have all observed this. You're on the traffic lights, or it's traffic jam. One comes with a cloth, tries to clean your window. And if you fail, at times they will slap the window if you fail to give them some money. But I think on the issue to do with the street children, it is one that we should easily take on, but try to find a solution, because this looks more like a monetary reason behind why they are on the streets. Because when they are on the streets, the symbol they use is begging. They are begging for money.
Exactly.
They don't beg for anything else. It's money or something to eat. So when you have nothing to eat, you become a beggar at the end of the day, especially when you have no job. We also have beggars who are not who are on the streets. But
Professional, they are professional.
They are professional in what they do. They are begging.
Because Jan asks you for 50K. Okay.
So it is all begging.
Okay.
But it just changes in the fact that some of us, you definitely say people are not on the streets. The others are begging through the corporate way of begging.
Interesting. This is something very interesting. Rona Nahawe, Jora mentioned something about this aspect of some charity organizations coming in to give these children a purposeful life.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that the more we give them money, we are spoiling them. That's just my opinion. Anyway, because even though, because me, I have a feeling that if you have two legs, you're not lame. I can feel pity for somebody lame. You see, even the lame people do something for themselves. But a kid, and some of them actually are not even too young. You find a kid of about 5 years, almost must be in P2, primary 3, but it's actually, I was shocked, one of 10 years, a girl, 10 years. And I'm like, at her age, I don't blame her, of course, to be where she is, but I wish now the responsibility of the Kampala City Council Authority and other relevant bodies that can come out, instead of just dropping these kids back, why don't they be taken to some sort of like some sort of vocational institutes when it comes to being acquired with skills. Of course, they first get some sort of education, because they need to understand how things really operate, because some are entirely illiterate, by the way. I don't know. I would be thinking that could be a right option, but giving them money, I think we are spoiling them.
No, I don't think giving them money is okay, all right, but we also need to understand where they are coming from. You might, like Joram said, you might want to know why. Some of these people might be abducted from their classrooms, brought here, come and make money. On the Kampala streets, beg. If you can make this much, then that is a job for me. Maybe they are abducted, or maybe some of them it's voluntary. But the best solution for them is for KCCA, is for government to empower KCCA with abilities beyond taking them back to where they come from, and stretch, of course, the shelter that they have made for them. And of course, like KCCA mentioned, KCCA needs collaborations from these people, from NGOs that are pertinent in these issues. So government, concerned stakeholders really need to come up and we clean these are streets. These are streets. They should not be looking like this. Especially, you see a park. Yesterday, I even saw one with a phone.
With a phone?
I'm like, now,
a smartphone?
Yeah, no, a small phone. And they are sitting on the street exactly where people pass, and I'm like, so who's going to give you money if they are seeing people are even calling you?
Okay.
It's not realistic, really. Government, KCCA, since KCCA, this is your city, just get all the help that you need and clear the streets, because it's not looking good economically, socially, and culturally. Yeah.
Yeah, but of course, even some other countries, in the United States of America, I was actually watching some person saying that, there is a picture that majority of the people portray about the U.S., most especially here in Africa, because probably, because in most cases, most of the imageries we see, which reach us, are sort of edited, and we get a picture of United States. When you watch movies, they are edited with effects, and you take a look at the buildings, and you're like, wow. But in reality, there are homeless people in the United States, very many more than you can think about. So,
but they have modified shelters. I've seen
actually
some.
worse shelters. If you see, that's why I tell you, most of the images we watch, if you get to look into a real American ghetto, how it looks
I
like.
can assure you that they have shelters. It's not as these street children that sleep outside. So.
They do, but there are also homeless that sleep outside.
Well, it's a whole topic.
Oh, no
We
way.
can go on and on.
Definitely. Well, it's exactly 23 minutes past 9 and still here having very interesting conversations. But of course, all this is powered by Zabu. We just made the trading experience much more easy and friendly. Start 292 hash. Of course, is the magic code, as you'll be available with quite lots of options. You can buy government bonds and securities with as little as 15,000 Ghana shillings. Now the markets open at exactly 8:15 and they close at exactly 3:15 p.m. That is East African time. Mondays to Fridays, except on the weekends and the public holidays when the market's not in operation. Yes, and there you cannot be able to access them. But on the rest of the days, you can actually capitalize on these markets and make excessive profits. No excuses why you shouldn't own these government bonds. It's now being made much more easy. You can actually trade them at the comfort of your home and you make money. Zabu, my money, my future. All tax East Africa, do something new. Well, 24 minutes past 9 and now let's get into a short break. Very interesting conversations coming up.